Well, guys, on the bright side, February is officially over, and I officially won. On the downside, the start of the month of March has been atrocious for all of us. So that's great. How are we feeling after a rocky week, to put it mildly?
Uh, I guess unsure,
Yeah,
but at the same time, I'm sure. The one thing I am sure of is that a lot of people are unsure.
yep, that is true.
But yeah, I don't know. Not panicking at the moment, so I guess that's always a good thing.
Yeah,
So yeah.
it's always a good litmus test. How do you respond when things go poorly?
Yeah, I would say, given that like a lot of things in the market aren't doing well, I'm not really like super upset with my own personal picks not working out because it seems like
Yeah.
odds were that it wasn't gonna work out. But I guess it's not like I'm not like thrilled at the same time to be like, yeah.
Well, so I see so far you are the only one who's made any changes, it looks like, for the month of March.
For March. Well, okay, so I sold GameStop, which actually was probably hurting me now at this point because I think it's gone up slightly even since I sold it. I think I sold it at like 110. It's like,
I mean, I think you were probably smart to get off the roller coaster before the train flew off the tracks,
I
but
mean,
that's
yeah, we'll
me.
see. We'll see. Maybe they're still memeing it to the moon or whatever. So I bought into. What did I buy with that? So I was looking into getting into some cryptocurrency, and this app keeps like advertising Ripple at me. I don't know about you guys, but I see like a lot of things for Ripple. It's like in my watch list. So I was like, fuck it, fine, yeah, all right, whatever. It's fake money, whatever. So I threw some at it. That is the only thing in my portfolio that's really doing well this month so far. Like that has had a positive return. Honestly, if I look at the price, it's almost like a mirror, or not mirror. It's like it follows Bitcoin basically, right? Like most cryptocurrency seems to follow Bitcoin's value. It's like as it does well, general, general, we'll say, confidence in cryptocurrency goes up, and as Bitcoin suffers, confidence plummets. So
Yeah.
the charts are very similar.
I think a lot of the smaller coins in particular are fairly speculative in nature just because they don't have as much to go off of, and so.
But yeah, and like how many people have adapted those?
Yeah.
Bitcoin has its own questions of adaptability. And
Yep.
It's massive comparatively to.
It's one of those rising tides lifts all ships, or whatever that super old phrase is. Like, I feel like that is crypto in a nutshell at this point.
Yeah. What else did I do? I sold off of Workhorse because they didn't get the contract. I
Yep.
did that last month actually, so that doesn't count for this month. I got off of Apple because I just didn't feel like having more, like I don't know, like big tech safe bets in my portfolio anymore.
You're swinging for the fences now. I like this attitude.
I decided to diversify from the group. And so I added Boeing. You guys talk a lot about travel regulations, and you've been seeing a lot of news about
Yeah.
like vaccines and stuff. So Boeing has been, there were a lot of air fleets that were grounded over the last year, obviously, because they were like, well, we don't have the demand to travel. That's picking up again. So Boeing and other manufacturers of airplanes, like Airbus, they're getting more orders. There recently have been agreements between the EU and the United States to kind of chill with some of the tariffs involved in manufacturing airplanes. So Boeing hasn't been doing great since I picked it up, but I'm hoping that that's more just because the general market hasn't been doing great. Once that starts bouncing back because of hopefully vaccinations going out and things opening back up, we will see. So that's like my bet, I guess, of the month.
Yeah. Okay. I think you have a couple interesting things here that are potentially working for you and potentially working against you at the same time. So with Boeing in particular, like you mentioned, adjustments to tariffs is always important to keep an eye on. Resumption of tourism, always important to keep an eye on. The thing that I'm curious about is their, how do I put this lightly? Small reliability problems with like jet pieces falling off in mid-flight. Like that's never a good look.
Well, so theoretically, given what I've heard from the people I know who do work at Boeing, theoretically this should be the safest airplane at this point that they've ever made because of how much they've been smashed out the ass and all these regulations that my relatives who work at Boeing. So like we have to deal with this kind of stuff now. Not that it's a bad thing, but like it's definitely there, right? oversight and stuff that is going on is probably hurting actually, like actual manufacturing. Instead of just hurting the bottom line of me pushing out as many airplanes as possible, it's hurting the actual manufacturing process of designing, and filling orders for good airplanes. I think at that point.
I think it's definitely a bit. It's a bit of a narrative street movement at this point. I mean, yes, there are serious issues that do need to be fixed, but I think it's one of those things too where if your job is to report on the news and you know what's going to make the news and you know what people are going to want to read about or talk about or listen to, it becomes a lot easier for you to just keep cycling through a whole bunch of stuff.
Well, I mean, they should still face public scrutiny.
Oh, certainly.
Until the product, I mean, they haven't had a chance to really show off the product, right?
No.
Until the product is proven to not fall out of the sky anymore.
Yeah,
I'm going to look at you questionably.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, I know it should be fixed by now. And honestly, I have some expectation that it should be. So, that's...
You and every shareholder ever.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I'm a theoretical shareholder.
If you make airplanes, the general expectation is that the airplanes do work. Yes.
Well, for...
Uh-oh.
I guess, the problem is that, they didn't have enough competition, so, they were, people are just asking us to buy airplanes without really checking to see if they work at a certain point.
Well, and I mean, this is one of those industries where this is a very interesting point, right? There are a lot of barriers to entry. It's very expensive. It's very regulated. It's one of those markets where, by design, it is anti-competitive. And so I think you're seeing, to a certain extent, what happens when, by design, the market is inherently anti-competitive. Things don't always go well. People are human. Mistakes will be made. That's not my point. My point is that, you're mentioning that people want to buy airplanes because of demand, and so if the demand is forcing people into making those choices and there's not enough legitimate options in the competitive landscape, then this can't be a terribly surprising outcome as far as I'm concerned. Especially not when you read about some of the other things that they just got done fixing on the 737 MAX, where they tried to outsource a $10 computer chip, and that just absolutely ruined everything.
Well, isn't that what always happens? You outsource it to a third party, and whatever you agreed on with the third party is not what actually gets delivered, right?
Happens a lot, yes. Yes, it does.
Yeah. I guess going over the rest of my portfolio, kept Shopify. That has so far not been a good decision on the month. That is hate. I guess overall, if I consider when I bought, when I made the initial position, I don't think I've lost any money, but I do think I've lost almost everything I gained last month, which was significant. So that is unfortunate.
Well, so the other thing you have to remember is that I'm looking at the video from last week. Technically, week over week, you're up 10%, because last week at market close, you were down 14.5%. Obviously, you've made some transactions and that skews your numbers, obviously, but comparatively speaking, you were in a much better spot to begin the month than you were in February.
Well, yeah, I guess the GameStop hole was being filled, right?
Yeah.
Well, selling off GameStop going back over $100 and then me selling it off.
Yeah.
That mitigated about a third of the damage,
Mm-hmm.
which, when it was that amount, that was a significant amount.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess it could have been better, like I said, technically, still going up, but yeah, also, there's a lot of, if I just look at the chart right now, there's a lot of spiking up and down. That chart that I see just today.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and so this is...
I think I need to...
We've arrived at an important lesson. I have always subscribed to the theory that once you sell something, you should stop paying attention to the price.
Well, like I said, I'm kind of interested in GameStop for more reasons than just its value as a stock.
Yeah, certainly.
To see as a story, I guess, where does it go? So I'm kind of more interested in from that.
Okay. As long as it's not keeping you awake at night. If your transactions are keeping you awake at night, that's a sign you should probably stop tracking things that you've already sold.
This is all fake money, so I
Yeah.
don't care. And hell, I bought a few shares of actual GameStop stock. I'm not tracking the price. That is money that I assume is just, that's just whatever. I actually, at $137, I think I'm profitable on that. Maybe I should like to get rid of that. Now that I think of it. But,
Oh my.
But it's I think it's just an interesting story to follow still.
Yeah.
I have sold, in the interest of remaining somewhat competitive in this competition, I have sold out of the position, but if I had enough theoretical money, I would have kept some small amount, but I think I need every extra bit of cash I can get.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. TSMC kept that because I thought computer chips would continue to do well, or at least not regress too badly, and they actually haven't really regressed too poorly given that it was an awful week.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of those situations where the market demand for them is still there, and so even if bond yields and some of these other external variables are causing problems, you know that the fundamentals of the stock are solid, which is what's important.
Microsoft basically didn't change. That was the one safe guy that I kept.
Mm-hmm.
He lost $19 over the week, so that's, I guess that's negative, but not really.
In the grand scheme of a portfolio full of $1 million fake dollars, I think $19 is not too bad.
Yes. eBay regressed, not as heavily as Shopify, but it did regress. On like a lot of retail focused, I feel like consumer goods did not do too well this week. So I'm glad it wasn't a double-digit fall like Shopify was this week, but that was it's not a great number. And then the other big loser of the month for me is Tesla. Kept that one just because I thought maybe its volatility would, we had actually seen some poor performance recently from it ending February, so I was like, maybe its volatility will jump it back up over the next, next period, sprint time, I guess, or evaluation period from fantasy. Down another 11%. Not looking too hot right there. Not looking too hot at all.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both are stuck in that one. I can't in good conscience sell it because I see the long-term upside, but that means in the meantime I have to deal with the conscious choice that is an ongoing liability.
Yes.
Because I can't move it if I'm going to capitalize on the long-term upside.
Yes, this could still save you for the year-long competition, so I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you count everything, I'm at like 6.8%, which obviously I was at 16.5 a couple weeks ago, so that's fairly terrible. But welcome to the market.
Yes. I think that covers my portfolio though. So yeah, a couple changes.
Okay, very nice.
Stays. Overall shrank. I think I only have 7 versus 8 last time. But
Okay.
right now, I don't really have the confidence in anything to buy another instrument. At the moment.
Not feeling any wild and adventurous streaks that you want to follow?
I do have some unused capital, I think, on the app that I probably could put into something, but I don't know. I might just put it into something that I already have a position in, or I don't know. I would have to do research into something that sounds worthwhile branching out into. I don't have an idea, I guess, right now.
I mean, research is never a bad thing. But maybe that's me. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll assess the damage. Yeah, I mean, biggest losers so far, like you alluded to, Tesla is doing very poorly. The other one, Canadian Solar, continues to implode. Not entirely sure why. I haven't seen anything catastrophically bad come across the newswire. Again, I feel like that might be one where I believe enough in the long-term upside, I might be stuck with it, at least to a point where I minimize the damage before I move on, but everything else is in territory that I would consider to be okay. I mean, Target's down 5.2, not great, but I mean, there's fundamental strength in retail right now, so I feel like that's more a reflection of the market conditions and not a reflection of the company's conditions. Ericsson is down less than 5%, that's fine. Apple is down 9%, I mean, that's not great, but it's a blue chip, it's what blue chips do. Microsoft down 1.1. I'll be fine. Though for the month, I'm also down on Alaska Air and DraftKings. Granted, it's 0.8% and 3%, so not huge margins by any stretch of the imagination, but considering last month, Bitcoin, Alaska Air, and DraftKings essentially carried my entire portfolio, the fact that those two are now negative is definitely not good. So. Hence the ugly red negative 0.72 in the bottom ticker.
Yeah.
Embarrassing. Should be wearing a face mask.
Could be worse.
Yeah?
You're almost. I mean, like for the month, you're like just under breaking even. I think.
Yeah, I mean it's not a bad spot to be in considering all of the market volatility, but
Yeah.
this is a competition. I played to win, and I played to win big.
Yeah, if he considers the fact that he gained money last month.
Yeah.
Overall for the year, he's still up. I'm down for both months so far, so that's not really a great.
Yeah.
The year is early, though. I will say this: the year is very early. It is far, far too early to panic. You've got time.
Well, this month is a little bit different too. Like I said, everyone in our league is down.
Yeah.
Technically, I'm not even quote unquote the most down this month, so
No.
I can still theoretically be gaining ground despite being negative this month. So.
Well, and shoot, tomorrow is Monday the 8th. So you've got, even in this month alone, there's far more that's going to have to play out before we really kind of establish who is where and by how much. So, going to be an interesting one, though, for sure. Very, very different market conditions than February. So, I would be lying if I said I didn't have some potential moves up my sleeve, but I'm not ready to share those yet. I got to see if I want to pull the trigger on them. So, I'll keep you posted, but we may have some news on that front next week. All right, Kyle. And in the spirit of you in last place, how'd we get there?
Man, it's really weird, or like, I don't know, I mean, it's so volatile right now, and then I feel like if I comparing to my all-time performance, like, pretty much all of my losses have come from, like, this past week. So it's like, oh, man. Like, obviously, if I want to make any, like, changes or moves, I feel like I'm going to wait and see if things kind of stabilize a little bit. Maybe, like, minimize my losses if they
Okay.
start kind of swinging back up.
Keep with the buy and hold strategy.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like panic selling, I guess. I don't know if you would.
Panic selling is never good.
Yeah, it just
Never
I don't know,
good.
it's never seemed like a good strategy for
No.
me. Obviously, it's probably not.
100% can confirm never a good idea.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, just comparing my performance, my cumulative performance, like, generally it's not that bad. Like, probably my worst performer, I think, is legitimately like Apple, which I don't think that was last month. Or yeah, I don't think it was last week that my big losses came. So.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of February, they were only down, I want to say somewhere between like 2 and 3%, if I remember correctly. So most of that damage has been very, very recent.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. It's like too early for me to run and panic and do something.
Yeah. Do you have any money left over, or did you invest it all up front?
I should have everything invested.
Okay.
Yeah, I have currently zero balance.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like maybe seeing so much red, maybe I should like diversify a little bit, because my portfolio is like what, 50-ish% tech.
Okay. So it's fairly heavily concentrated.
Yeah, so I feel
Okay.
like it might not be a bad idea to spread out and just see what else is available. But it seems like everything is kind of down right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, it's difficult to find sectors that you can pinpoint with extreme levels of confidence and say, no matter what, these are going to be fine.
Yeah.
So,
So,
though your point on diversification is a good one. I honestly think when all is said and done this month, the person who wins is going to be the person who either hits it with the big bets or has properly diversified to take advantage of market conditions.
yeah.
Because when things get dicey, diversification is your friend.
Yeah, so it's like, I guess, figuring out where to branch out for myself is probably going to be the biggest one for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just looking at mine right now. I'm fairly well diversified. I think it's just a question of, is there anything else I can do to take advantage or mitigate the risk from all of the instability in the market right now?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I'm at, crypto is at 28, tech and media is 27, service industry is 12, travel and leisure is 10, retail is 9, auto is 7, and energy and environment are 7. So.
It's not bad. You have like, what, 9 sectors or something?
8.
Yeah.
They might be counting my $4,000 of cash on hand, though. Which I do need to figure out what I'm going to do with that. So, at the very least, I need to spend that now. But still researching what I want to do with that, too. No firm conclusions yet, but we'll see. Well, it was definitely an interesting week. Like we talked about, maybe there will be some significant changes between now and next week. Maybe there won't be. Going to be very, very different than the month of February, though, that is for sure. Are there any trends or specific items in the news that you guys are following closely that you think could potentially impact some of these decisions that you're thinking about?
No, I think I kind of already mentioned mine. Like I said, I was kind of looking at news about airplane manufacturers when I was researching Boeing, so I did notice the EU and the United States talking about tariff agreements and easing those back. So that was something that was interesting to me, but I don't think there are any other ongoing storylines that I'm tracking. Workhorse fell through, so I'm not really worried about that contract anymore.
You're not following Wall Street Bets for your next hot lead?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I was following Wall Street Bets before games, so I just like reading.
Yeah. It's an interesting read. Regardless of what you feel about all the GameStop stuff, it's an interesting read.
Yeah, they still have their suggestions that they throw out there. I don't know. I think like marijuana stock has been fairly big on there recently too. But
that's a tricky one for a lot of reasons. But
I'm not sure I'm comfortable investing in that industry yet. Like, it's not that I have anything against that industry personally, obviously, but I just investing in it seems like it's kind of hard to figure out right now.
Yeah, I mean it has nothing to do with the actual industry, in my opinion. It's the uncertainty at the federal level, right? It's illegal in some states. It's not federally legal. Like, that in and of itself is a nightmare to try to navigate. How do you value a company with such a chopped up market? How do you value the company and factor in the level of risk? You know, on the upside, if it becomes federally legal, which fingers crossed, I think we all hope it does at some point, you know, there's tremendous upside there. If it doesn't, though, how do you also factor that into the price and the expectations of what it's able to do? It's a really, really difficult spot to be in.
Plus, I mean, like, I just don't know anything about any of the companies that play in that space.
Yep.
I mean, like, I could probably do research into them, but, like, it's not like these are, like, brands that I'm, like, intimately familiar with already or anything. Like, you know, like, it'll be, like, I'll have to trust, like, things I read about these different companies that probably were made within the last, you know, like, 3 years. So, like, even the big players, like, how recent can they be given, like, how recent legalization has started?
Yeah, I mean,
level, so, you know.
well, Washington, was that 2014?
Yeah.
We were the first?
Yeah, just after we started. Well, it was Denver. Was it us or Colorado that was first?
I think they happened around the same time.
It was by the time we played them in the Super Bowl, though, because that was the Wii Bowl, remember?
It was okay. So we were 2012, and then Colorado.
Really, 2012?
It's probably been
hard to believe, right? I mean it. And Colorado was... Oh, they didn't give me a structured snippet with the answer to my question this time.
Oh, Google. I like it when it does that. It highlights like a paragraph or something.
Yeah. Fun fact for any of you who do websites and marketing, searches that end with an answer in a structured snippet now account for 50% of all web traffic. But yeah, so Colorado, 2012... was when it was legalized and state licensed retail in 2014. So yeah, so Colorado and Washington were on a very similar timeline.
Yeah.
So you figure domestically, any company that's publicly listed, like at most 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
Like you may have experience, your company technically may have started underground, yes. But as an industry compared to the rest of the market, it's just so new. There's a lot that makes that a really difficult space to play in. But definitely the upside. If you can stomach the risk and you can figure it out, there's a lot of money to be made. But therein lies the challenge.
Yes.
Kyle, anything for you?
Not anything that I'm specifically like keeping an eye out or keeping an eye on. No, not really.
Okay. I personally, and I don't want to give too much of this away because I don't want it to inform my potential strategic adjustments, but in periods of market volatility, I always start to look at if the market goes south, what do people have to keep spending money on? What do companies have to keep spending money on? And so I start to look at those areas as relatively stable compared to other industries that depend more on a surging economy or high consumer spending or some of those other things. So you start to get into some of the stocks in the industries that a lot of people might consider boring at that point, but find me a person who says making money is boring. I mean,
Nice, that's true. Dude, you're taking the COVID supermarket strategy with the toilet paper. That's the strategy, right?
I mean the difference there is that I'm not price gouging people. But
That's true.
yeah, essentially, it's a similar concept.
You do price gouge them if you buy all of it and you hold and you refuse to sell until it's ridiculously high. I mean, that's kind of price gouging, right?
Well, yes, but
that's what you're supposed to do with stock. Like, you want to price gouge with your stock.
holding a stock is very different than holding a basic first world commodity, though.
Well,
I mean,
because because like when you hold toilet paper, like the innate value of the toilet paper doesn't change just because more people want it. Like at the end of the day, what its purpose is to wipe your butt, right? Like, like that's what it does. Like that's its value. Whereas holding a stock, like because more people want it, its value has changed as a company, right? Because like more people have confidence in it, more people are willing to throw money at it, so its actual power has changed because you've held it and other people want it. So I guess it is fundamentally a little different.
I mean, I don't know that the power of the investment has necessarily changed. I would say the expectation of what the company is capable of is what has changed, and so you're buying into the hype that this new set expectation is going to be something they're capable of achieving.
Well, I mean, as the value of their stock goes up and people buy it, like, and if they choose to sell, like what they do,
Yeah.
the company does get more buying power, like just more cash to do things with too. Like maybe that is what they need. Sometimes I know that's part of the reason why Wall Street bets like AMC, because they're like, even if you think this is a meme, like if you just buy enough stock and give them enough money, they can pay off their debt at least and see what they can do or whatever.
Well, so you make an interesting point there, because in some cases that is true and in some cases that is not. So the only way that a company is actually able to generate revenue or profit or a return on the pricing of shares is if they own some of them, right?
Well,
because then you can transact it. If you buy,
There's not like private interest in the company.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah.
you don't always give a company money directly just because you buy their stock. You're usually giving it to the person you're buying it from, and they oftentimes have no affiliation with anything.
Yeah, but it's as people who do work in the company see the value of their portion of the company go up, they can say, well, if we need cash,
Yep.
I can sell X% now because it's worth that much.
That's where you have to start tracking the insider trading volume. Not the illegal kind of insider trading, the legal kind of insider trading. But start tracking those volumes and you start to see some interesting things sometimes with people's perceptions of the value of where they work and what's going on. Very interesting psychological experiment if you're ever interested. But Maybe that's just me. It's going to be interesting, that's for sure. Any closing thoughts from anybody on what was, in all, a very disappointing week?
Nope, I don't think so.
No? I'm just glad we didn't go through with having my dog make a portfolio for this month, because I feel like I would be in serious jeopardy of losing to my dog, given how the first week of March went.
Potentially, if your dog was just lucky.
Some of this is always luck, though. I mean, you can do all the homework you want, you can do all the due diligence you want. Skill is always a part of the equation, but it will never be all of the equation.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for watching, as always, everybody. It was an interesting week, to be sure, and hopefully when you watch next week's episode, we've got some better news to report. Until then, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
For sure. Take care, guys.
Yep, see ya, guys.